It's nice to see you guys.
Gotta get your thoughts on these latest developments, the exemptions, and also the fact that you are, at least according to reports, starting to see some more purchases of some of these agricultural products by China. What does it do for prices?
Well, we've had this happen before where we've had the promise of China coming back in. China is by far our most important export market for several agricultural commodities. You'd specifically referenced pork and soybeans, and I think it's in that order. The pork market has responded very favorably as of recent here. The 2020 optimism that's built into prices is reflective of some of those trade talks going well and the United States being able to supply more pork into China. Similar situation for the soy complex is we're in a perennial dogfight with the South Americans over who's going to supply the most important import market for that particular product. The South Americans are on the cusp of getting ready to plant. The valuation of the dollar versus their local currencies certainly would give them every incentive in order to plant as much as possible and continue to compete with the United States. So it's a very important development here as we take a look at the impact to rural America.
It's an important development, Joe, but I wonder how surprising is it, especially when you talk about something like pork? I mean, we've had swine flu has just eviscerated the pig population in China. I would imagine that plays a role in this as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. China contains about 50% of the world's pork supply. The Pacific Rim, the same area that's been decimated, represents about 70%. And so we've got those of us that are in the export markets, and I'd put the European Union, Canada, and the United States are all poised in order to take advantage of this development with more shipments to China. We have seen that begin. We've had a few fits and starts along the way with some tweets that we thought were going to lead to further development, only to be disappointed. This one appears to have some more legs underneath it. It's a very important development. You're right.
To what extent is China just being opportune in the short-term need for some of the agricultural commodities that the U.S. can export to it fairly quickly, as opposed to this being more broadly a positive tone from the trade talks?
Well, I think they're probably the most sophisticated and wise trade partners that we have. They have taken advantage of a pricing opportunity where U.S. prices are relatively depressed. And if they are, in fact, in buying, I would applaud their effort in the timing and think it's a good deal for both sides, that the Chinese are acquiring product at a very favorable price and allowing the promise of further shipments for U.S. producers. Very opportunistic traders and very wise traders. This is not a huge surprise.
Joe, quickly, given the fact that you do sit at that intersection between farmers and Wall Street, you're located out in Iowa, what is the sense from farmers around the Trump administration right now, especially as we do look to the 2020 election?
It's kind of funny because we just had the state fair in Iowa, and from the outside looking in, you would think there might be a little bit more discouragement in the way that the Trump administration has handled specifically rural affairs. The polls would show that he's roughly running 50% approval rating. It seems that rural America is very patient in its roots and supportive of relatively conservative issues, and just allowing us to have a fair playing field. We will compete and we will win. So I think there's a lot of optimism in the heartland of America of what could be.